Baruch Hashem, working on the anatomy of the soul. To review from last time, we spoke about Chochmah. And I want you to know this is what's happening inside of you right now. Imagine you're learning something and you don't get it. That happens to me a lot. And I'm thinking and all of a sudden the light goes off and you get it, right? And then your chavrusa says, so tell me, and what do you say to him?
I don't know.
I can't say it. So he says, oh, I guess you don't know it. And what do you say back to him? I know that I know it. I just can't express it yet. And so then you don't know it. I know, I got it. I saw the whole picture, but I can't illustrate. I can't describe it yet. It's not yet. Chochmah is that flash when you just get it. Chochmah, like we mentioned, is koachmah, the ability to say what? It's something that's above you. That's why the highest part of your soul, we're talking about the mechanism of your soul, is the ability to be open to higher consciousness. And therefore, the greatest quality of a godly person is, in fact, that they get out of the way. Generally, the world will tell you the opposite. They'll say, the greater the person, the greater the man. He's so powerful. You're such a man. You're so... Or a woman, whatever, a powerful woman, a powerful man. He's got such admirable qualities. He's so amazing. The way the Torah sees it is the more that you actually get out of the way, the more you allow a divine light to flow into you, because we're talking about an infinite light. Now, as great as a person could be, as many Tony Robbins seminars as you go to, and you become the master human being, let's say, will you ever be bordering the infinite? No, because you're just all the time involved in it. You might have maximized your finiteness, and that might be extremely impressive. But only when a person can have a consciousness that there's a light, there's a consciousness, there's a God that's beyond, and the power of that will always be greater than me, and he knows that, he so to speak made a space inside of himself called Chochmah, that now an infinite light courses through you, into you. So it's a paradox. At the same time as you're getting out of the way, you're making a space of not knowing, the greatest knowingness will flow into you, because God, his consciousness is the greatest knowingness. So it's really a divine paradox. By moving out of the way, by humbling oneself, they become the greatest. This is what it says also about the kings of Israel. We'll talk about this, that the more humble a person is, and we find that the greatest person of all time, Moshe Rabbeinu, was the humblest man that ever lived. And we find the greatest people of Abraham, who said about himself, Ani afar ve'efer, I'm like dust and dirt. What am I really? King David said, I need teilas ve'enai ish. King David? You're a worm, you're not a man, you're the king! You're the king! You're a worm? What do you mean? What's the answer? Compared to Hashem, where he, so to speak, got out of the way, then you become a King David, then you become an Abraham, then you become a Moses. So, yeah. What's that? Yeah, so we won't talk about that right now. But no, to the contrary, the more that you can realize the finiteness, and you could, so to speak, say, I'm open to a higher consciousness, Hashem now says you're making space for infiniteness to flow into you. That's awesome. That's why the highest part of you is the Chochmah, the ability to say, what? I don't know. There's something bigger than me. That's oftentimes why a person goes through this very great level of growth when they get to this place of like, I don't know anymore. When a person sometimes gets to this only you can help me, Hashem. I took it to the end, only you. And all of a sudden, they start feeling like, oh, now things are moving. They get this otherworldly power. But to the degree that the guy's like, I'm going to be the master, I'm going to own everything, I'm going to do everything, That will happen later in the system. We'll talk about that. You can be the master. You can go to the Tony Robbins seminars. You can be the whatever millionaire man and master the inner beast and whatever. But that's lower stuff. The highest level of self-mastery of consciousness from the Torah is actually making space for an infinite light. That's very, very beautiful to know that. And by the way, this doesn't mean I'm a nothing. That's not what it means. It means I acknowledge that there's a consciousness beyond. And I want to invite that into me. There's nothing more empowering. There's nothing more enlivening than that. This is not a low self-esteem thing. This is to the contrary. You become as jacked up spiritually as you could imagine. When Moshe said that he was the humblest, now, by the way, it didn't mean that, oh, you're saying you're the humblest, Moshe. That's not very humble, right? He knew who he was. He knew that he had nothing but Hashem. This is not a low self-esteem thing. You become filled with godly light. Low self-esteem was the guy thinks, I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. And then, by himself in his room at night. Because he knows that he's really not. But he puts on the big outer thing. Chad, exactly, Chad. Back to our prototypical master bro example. We'll keep coming back to Chad. I don't actually mean if there's Chads out there that I'm talking about you. I just mean the prototypical archetype, the mythological creature called Chad. He could have other names as well. It's a Bechinas Chad, Bechina called Chad. Okay. So that's Chochmah. So now what's Bina? Bina is when you get that flash that comes into you. Bina is the power of your soul that's able to take that flash of consciousness and actually start to elaborate on it and unwind it. Use the example of the helix, of a genetic code where the father gives the seed and the mother takes that seed and she unwinds it into a child. She expands it and helps to build it out more than what was initially there, but building from what was initially there. Bina means to build, like bonnet. And Chazal say that Bina means lahavin davar mitoch davar, to understand one thing from another. So once the flash comes into you, you say, okay, wait a second, let me just, okay, based on that, based on this, and you start building out. But Bina is always only building with the Chochmah that it receives. So when you get that initial flash of inspiration, of consciousness, the Bina of your soul, it starts to compartmentalize it, build things with it, structure it. So Bina is very important because Bina actually lets you start to create systems of thought. Chochmah is just like flashes of consciousness. Generally, people who are bigger Kabbalists have a lot more Chochmah, and people who are like real Gemara people are more rooted in Bina. Because Kabbalah, really, even the word Kabbalah, what does the word Kabbalah mean? To receive. It seems like this, it's like you're not even in the picture, you're just receiving. So Chochmah people are really just this like, they get it. There's a custom in certain Kabbalistic circles to open, you open the Kabbalah book, you just open to the middle of the book. Why? Because you realize you don't know anything anyways. This stuff is very high up. You're going to start from the beginning. You're just showing that, do we really know what's going on here? We're talking the biggest Kabbalists, they're the ones that realize we know nothing. Kabbalah is beyond. It's beyond. You spend your whole life and we're going to spend all of eternity learning Kabbalah. That's what your eternity is. That's why the Sfarim say you want to make sure you learn, you get your feet wet a little bit, because that's really what you're going to be. That's the good stuff in all of eternity, in the world to come. So the people who are involved, they were like, this is just beginning. What was really going on? We're talking about infinite. God is infinite. How long is it going to take you to make a relationship with infinite? Infinite. Yeah, infinite. So there's a long road ahead, my friends. That's exciting. And it's all based on Torah. It's all based on Torah. Bina, so Bina is the people who take that initial idea and start, if this means this, this means this, this means this, and this, okay, and start putting things into order and building things. And if that meant that, then I can extrapolate that to mean this. Let's start applying it more into things that you've seen. Is the Mishnah compared to the Gemara, Chochmah or Bina? What's the Mishnah, what's the Gemara? The Mishnah is excellent, and the Gemara is right, because the Mishnah just says it, and the Gemara says, well, how did you get that? How did you get that? Oh, and if you said that, it must have been that. And then all of a sudden you're like 20 pages in. That was the same Mishnah? Really? It was all in that Mishnah? Or you get to the 2 dots, you're like, the second word of the Mishnah. What? What? All of that was in the first word of the Mishnah? Because what does it mean? That the words of the Mishnah are like a chochmah, a blast, and the Gemara then unwinds it, is pulling it out, unwinding it. Okay, that's the idea of Chochmah and Bina. This is not a rule, but the world was set up this way. And anyone wants to have a longer conversation, I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to want to have a longer conversation about this. I'm happy to have it. Men are generally more X, and women are generally more Y. Men are generally more what? Chochmah or Bina? Chochmah. Women are generally more Bina. Chochmah is, that's what it is. Bina is, let me build it all out. Okay? It doesn't mean that you can have a guy who also has a very high level of Bina, or a woman that has a high level of Chochmah. But like we have dominant traits, dominant genes and recessive genes, men are more, and the idea of a man is more of a Chochmah, and women are more Bina. For example, this is not 100%, but I think you'll see a little bit that there's a theme. When you call your father to say, just wanted to call and say hi, or your father calls you, just want to say hi, how does the conversation usually go? Good, how's it going? How's your shiva? Fine. Good, how are you? How's work? Good. Okay, you need money? Yeah, could use some. Okay. Okay, no. Okay, shkoyach. Thanks, Dad. Have a great day. It doesn't have to just be that. I'm just giving a bit of a sampling. A little bit more, to the point. This is what it is. I usually find when I talk to guys, I say, how was the last conversation with your mom? So she'll call us, how you doing? How's yeshiva? Good. What'd you eat today? I don't know, like fleisha Torah. We had like 2 types, like chicken. What kind of chicken? I don't know, like it was good. It was like fine. No, like who'd you sit with? I don't know, like the regular guys. Who's that? You sit with your roommates? You sit with the guys in your shiur? You say, I don't know. Let me think about it. Like I just know it was a good lunch. I'm full. I had a nice lunch today. No, but like what'd you guys talk about at lunch? How are your shiurim going? Do you like your Rebbe? Is it going well? I don't know. Your shiva's good. Like what can I say? Mom, it's good. Everything's fine. Fine? What do you mean fine? Tell me, like what does that mean fine? Are you happy? Are you getting enough sleep? I feel okay. Yeah, I'm getting some sleep. Thank you. How many hours? And all of a sudden it's like, everything's good, Mom. Everything's fine. So you want to say fine. Because fine is chochmah. One word, it sums the whole thing up. She's like, tell me about fine. Tell me about good. I want to know more details. Chochmah is not much detail. It's like, that's what it is. Bina is very detail-oriented, right? Because Bina is just the details. The Mishnah is like, this is the halacha. Rabbi Yehuda says this, and Rabbi Shua says this. It's done. Bina is like, whoa, let's talk about this for a long time. Okay? If you understand what I mean, this is one of the reasons why that Gemara is generally more with men, because women already have that power of examining, examining them. Bina is also, by the way, very intuitive, because you could see something and you could hear and build something else. I'll give you an example. Sometimes we'll have guys over for Shabbos Kodesh, and one of the guys like, I need a place to stay. Rebbe can like spend the night here. So I said, let me ask my wife. So she'll say, I don't think it's a good idea. Even though she wants, she'll help people and we'll, I said, why not? Why not? Give me a reason. I can't explain it. I just feel that there's something not. So you might say, I want the facts. Give me the facts. So in the world of Bina, there's things that are being seen and being built up that is not always can be expressed. There's a lot of intuition. That's why the Gemara says that women have something called Bina Yisera. They have extra Bina. They have a lot of intuition. Bina also has a code to the heart. There's a secret underground passageway, which we're going to talk about, to Tiferes, to the heart. That women have this very special connection of the heart and Bina. Bina is called Bina Liba. Bina opens things up. So women are called Bina. I don't know any men called Bina. And women are called Liba. Bina Liba. There's this deep connection between Bina and women. That they get things, that they're in tune with things, that there's a sensitivity. And it's very important to honor your wife's sensitivities. And honor that they think in a certain way which wants to build things up and understand things. When was the last time you called one of your buddies? How did the conversation go? And again, this is not a steadfast rule, but this is a general. You see one of the guys, you call him, how you doing, bro? Fine, what's up? Nothing. So what do you need? What's going on? No, I just wanted to call, say hi. So that's fine. Sometimes you want to just talk to one of your friends and just schmooze things out. But Jenna, it's like, what do you want? Okay, I'll see you later. Okay, bye. But I know my wife, and this is, and generally, women will just talk. And if you're hearing the conversation, like, so what was the, end goal of the conversation? The answer is, so how are you? So, good, fine. And they're doing like 50 things, like changing doing stuff in the house. Fine, so you wanted the bus? Oh yeah, you've been taking that bus? They started running that route. I heard the route changed the directions and you heard that. I was on the bus when the driver actually said I'm going to change that. So really, I heard that had happened. And where were you coming from? I was getting shoes for Shlomi and that they couldn't find a size. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So generally, a guy's thinking like, where's this going? Now, like I mentioned, it's not man, woman. There's dominant traits and recessive. Bina is the ability to really elaborate. What's better, Chochmah or Bina? The answer is neither. They need each other. In the Zohar, Chochmah and Bina are called two lovers that never separate. Shrei Rein Deloy, Nisparshin Zumi Zu, two lovers that can never be separate. Does the Chochmah need Bina? Yes. Because if you have Chochmah without Bina, you're actually very immature. Your ideas are not thought out. They haven't been expressed in all their brilliance. You could hear that, right? Because the Chochmah is just, that's why the Gemara makes the Mishnah beautiful. But what is the Bina without the Chochmah? There you have nothing, because there's nothing for it to, what is it elaborating on? So the Chochmah and the Bina are two lovers that are totally bonded. Okay, now just look at this inside. The second line going on to the third line. When you take the koyach, you hear that language, kocho, hinting to chochmah, this power, from potential, elapoyel, and now you're making it actual by thinking about it. Shemisboinen besichlo, you start thinking. Lahaven davar la'ashura, you want to understand the idea in its full brilliance. Bina makes it more brilliant and beautiful. The woman makes the husband's ideas more beautiful and brilliant. They complement each other. There's a need for this synergy between the couple. That's called Bina. It actually makes it more beautiful. It takes it somewhere. Look at this. Chochmah and Bina are called the father and the mother. That is a Kabbalistic term. Abba and Ima. This is called Abba in the Kabbalah books. Chochmah is a code word for Abba, and Bina is a code word for Imo. Now, what do you have when you have a father and a mother? You have a child, okay? And we're going to talk about that. The Chochmah and Bina give birth to both something called Das. Das is called a child. The Chochmah and Bina actually give birth also to Chesed and Gevurah, which is another code word for love and awe, or fear. That when I have Chochmah and Bina working properly, i.e., I have an idea of inspiration that I've unwound into something, love means either I move forward towards that idea, towards that concept, and fear means I want to stay away from it. For example, if you realize that there's something comes into you and you've thought it through, and this is the person that you want to marry. So there's an ava that's pushing you towards that person, which is thought through properly. But let's say there's a business opportunity and you thought it through and you realize there's actually a real danger of a scam artist here. So there's a certain gevura of, okay, I'm staying away, I'm moving away. Everything in life is one of these two. That I think through something and either I move towards it, that's called love, or I recoil from it, that's called gevura, that's called fear. We will continue this next time. Yeshua Koyach, and have a wonderful day.